My dear friends, there are realities which do not declare themselves with trumpets, nor arrive on the heels of logic. Some truths come quietly, wrapped in mystery, as a letter slipped under a door. You do not hear the messenger, but you find the message all the same. So it is with the presence of angels. If you are waiting for wings to rustle or halos to glimmer in the hallway, you may wait a very long time, but perhaps you've already seen more than you realize. The signs are rarely theatrical. They are subtle, like the hush before snow falls or the way a candle flickers without a breeze. Have you ever found a white feather where no feather ought to be? Not outdoors, not near a pillow or a blanket, but alone, pristine and placed as if by intention, on the windowsill, on your coat, resting on the carpet with no earthly reason to be there. Some would say it is mere coincidence, but those who have lived long with quiet eyes will know better. Such a thing is not merely decorative. It is a whisper. We were here. Then there are the scents, not perfumes of this world, mind you, not something one can buy in a shop. A sudden fragrance of roses or lilies in a place where no flower lives, or the warm, sweet smell of sunlight after rain, even though the skies have been dry for days. These are not hallucinations, they are brushstrokes from a greater painter. We live in a masterpiece, and the artist is still at work. Light behaves strangely, too. A beam slanting through a curtain catches a dust mote, and somehow it does not feel like dust at all, but something holy. Or a golden glow in a room that feels for a few seconds like the world has tilted closer to heaven. No photographer can quite capture it, and no words can fully explain it, but you felt it, you know. And how often have we thought of someone, just a passing thought, a memory out of the blue, and moments later the phone rings or a letter arrives or we meet them by chance? We call it intuition or coincidence, but what if it is something more? What if there are unseen hands arranging threads on a loom too large for us to perceive? What if angels in their quiet way are guiding even our chance encounters? Even the sound of silence may speak. There are silences that weigh heavy and hollow, but there are other sacred silences that fill a room with a strange fullness. You sit quietly, and it is as if someone else is with you, though no one enters. You do not feel alone. In fact, you feel more yourself than usual, as though the soul were suddenly reminded of its origin. In those moments, I believe the veil thins. You may have noticed patterns in numbers, repeating digits on clocks, a birth date appearing again and again, numbers that follow you from receipts to addresses. Some dismiss it as numerology or trick of the brain, but others have learned to pay attention. Not all messages come in parchment and ink. Some arrive as patterns, gentle nudges meant only for you. And then, perhaps most mysteriously, there is the sudden lifting of sorrow. You were deep in grief. The world had gone gray, and then, without any great change in circumstance, something lifted. A weight rolled away, like a stone from a tomb. You did not explain it. You only knew that peace had entered the room and stayed. These things do not come from nowhere. They are sent. I would not have you obsess or go looking under every chair for wings and halos. But I would have you remain awake and willing to be surprised. The invisible is not the imaginary. It is often more real than the visible. Heaven is not a distant galaxy, but a kingdom interwoven with this one, and its couriers do not wait to be noticed before they act. So when next you find a feather on your path, or a breeze in a sealed room, or a child speaking wisdom they could not possibly know, do not shrug, do not laugh it off. These are not just strange occurrences, they are reminders. You are not alone. There is something quietly stirring about a white feather. It is one of the simplest things in the world, weightless, silent, without voice or shadow, and yet when it appears where it should not be, it arrests the soul, not in fear, not in confusion, but with a kind of holy hush. One finds it resting on a windowsill, caught in a doorway, tucked into the corner of a room where no bird could have It arrives without sound, as if carried on the breath of something sacred. To the hurried or skeptical eye, it's nothing, a stray bit of fluff, an accident of nature. But for those whose hearts are a little more tuned to the unseen, it can feel like a message, or at the very least, a quiet reminder. Not every miracle is loud. Not every messenger needs a trumpet. Some simply leave behind a feather, white and perfect, to let you know you are not alone. There is a long and ancient tradition of feathers being associated with angels. It is not about biology or ornithology. No one imagines angels plucking feathers from their wings and dropping them like breadcrumbs. Rather, the feather becomes a kind of symbol, a poetic echo. It reminds us that there are wings, that there is flight, and that something divine is watching over the ordinary days of our lives. In a world often overrun with noise and doubt, such a sign is a mercy. It's not loud enough to force belief, but just enough to stir wonder. People often report finding white feathers at curious moments, during grief or deep prayer, or when they have cried out in silence for help. They appear in bedrooms after sleepless nights, in hospital waiting rooms, on long walks when the soul is weary and asking questions. And strangely, they are rarely dirty, crumpled, or torn. They appear almost pristine, as though preserved for the very purpose of being found. And when you do find one, something inside you stirs, a warmth in the chest, a breath that comes a little deeper. You may smile without knowing why. It is not proof, perhaps, but it is presence. You feel seen, comforted. It is as if some invisible hand had placed it there to say, I am near, you are not forgotten. Of course, you may choose not to believe in signs. That is your right. The world will not push them on you. But for those who do believe, or who are at least willing to wonder, a white feather can become a sacred thing, a token of peace, a soft signature of heaven on the rough pages of life. So, the next time one crosses your path, pause. Look a little longer, not with suspicion, but with reverence. For in that small, weightless thing, there may be a message written in silence. You are loved. You are guarded. You are never alone. There is a mystery in the way animals look at the world. Their gaze is unclouded by reason, unburdened by distraction, and free from the endless chatter that fills the human mind. They do not ask whether something should be possible. They simply respond to what is. And for that reason, they often notice what we do not. Have you ever watched a cat pause in the middle of a room and stare utterly still into a corner where there is nothing visible at all, not a shadow, not a movement, not even a flicker of light? And yet she watches with eyes wide, ears alert, as if something were there. Or perhaps you've seen a dog lounging peacefully suddenly lift his head and wag his tail, looking toward an empty doorway with gentle excitement, as if someone he loves has just arrived, but no one has. We tend to explain these things away. We say the animal heard a sound we could not hear, smelled something beyond our limited range. And often that may be true, but not always. There are moments, quiet, peculiar moments, when it feels like something more, like the animal is responding to a presence we cannot see, and perhaps they are. If we accept that there is more to this world than what our five senses can detect, then we must also accept that some creatures may be more finely attuned to the unseen than we are. Animals do not doubt. They do not reason themselves out of wonder. They live closer to instinct, to spirit, to the pulse of nature itself. They feel things. They know things. Sometimes they perceive what is invisible to us, simply because they do not insist on explaining it away. Many people have shared stories of their pets behaving strangely after the passing of a loved one. Dogs sleeping beside the deceased's favorite chair for weeks, or cats meowing at a closed door where no one has entered. Sometimes these behaviors come with a sense of peace rather than distress, as though the animal is aware of a presence and is not afraid. Perhaps the soul lingers, perhaps angels pass through, perhaps the animal simply knows that love does not vanish. We cannot say for certain, but the stories are too many to ignore. Even in times of illness or grief, animals often act differently. They sit beside those in pain. They stare quietly at those who are about to pass. Some seem to sense the change in the air long before any doctor does. And again, the room feels thinner in those moments, as though the walls between this world and the next are gently dissolving. So if your pet pauses, looks upward, or seems to greet an unseen guest, consider it. Don't dismiss it too quickly. Perhaps the animal sees what you cannot. Perhaps your home has been visited. Perhaps something holy passed by, and your companion, blessedly free of doubt, simply noticed. There are moments in life when something strange and beautiful intrudes upon the ordinary, softly, quietly, and without reason. You walk into a room and are met with the unmistakable scent of roses, though no flowers have been near. You sit in stillness and feel a sudden warmth spread through the air, though the sun has long since set and the windows are closed. You look up from your cup of tea and notice a glow in the corner of the room, a shaft of light that seems almost to shimmer, though the sky is cloudy and the bulbs are off. These moments don't shout, they whisper, and in their whispering they stir the soul. We are creatures trained to believe in only what we can measure: scent, light, warmth. We attribute these things to physics, chemistry, or imagination. Yet there are times when the explanation does not hold. A perfume drifts by that belonged to someone long gone. A fragrance of lilies lingers in the hallway where no such thing should be. The air carries the faint sweetness of incense, as if a chapel had passed through your home, uninvited but welcome. In these moments, many report feeling more than just surprise. They feel a peace, a presence, a deep, unmistakable calm, as though something, not a thing of flesh or shadow, but of light, has entered the room and made itself known in the gentlest possible way. Angels, it is said, do not break into our world with fanfare. They arrive as peace, as light, as a fragrance too beautiful to name. There are also the moments of light, not blinding, not theatrical, just enough to make you pause. A ray through a curtain that feels as though it came from another realm. A strange shimmer across a wall or floor as though something unseen brushed past. The light seems to have a quality beyond ordinary light. It glows rather than shines. It comforts rather than merely illuminates. It feels alive. And again, these signs are deeply personal. Two people can sit in the same room and only one will notice it. That is the nature of such encounters. They are not designed to prove, but to comfort. They are not here to startle, but to reassure. The presence they suggest is not loud, but it is unmistakable. A message without words: you are not alone. You are watched over. The veil is thin here. There's something profoundly intimate about being chosen to notice such a sign. It often happens in the wake of sorrow, or in the midst of prayer, or even in those quiet, drifting hours when you are not thinking of anything at all. It is not a spectacle. It is a visitation. So the next time a strange, sweet scent finds you with no explanation, or a glow fills a space in a way it never has before, pause. Let the moment be what it is. You may be standing in the wake of wings. There are moments in life that seem to defy logic, not in the loud, chaotic way of miracles from old stories, but in a quiet, seamless unfolding of things that are simply too perfect to be chance. You think of someone you haven't seen or spoken to in years, and within the hour your phone rings. It's them. You find yourself drawn to take a different route home, only to stumble upon something or someone you were meant to find. A string of numbers or a word or a name keeps appearing again and again, as though the world is echoing something softly, hoping you'll listen. Most would call it coincidence, but if you listen closely, if you allow your soul a moment of stillness, it becomes clear something more is at work. We live in a world woven with patterns, yet most of the time we are too hurried to notice the embroidery. But once in a while, the threads glimmer. There's a divine elegance in these coincidences, a kind of choreography behind the curtain of the everyday. When such moments occur, they often carry with them an inner knowing, a feeling, however small, that this was meant to happen, that you were gently nudged into place. Angels do not always announce themselves with trumpets or visions. More often, they influence in subtler ways, through what feels like intuition, through sudden clarity, or a sense that something is guiding your steps. It's the voice that quietly urges you to call a friend, only for you to discover they were in need. It's the strange certainty to go left instead of right and later realize the reason. It's not about superstition, it's about awareness, about trusting that the soul can sense what the mind cannot always explain. These divine nudges rarely come with explanations. They do not insist, they do not command. They are soft prompts, like a hand resting lightly on your shoulder. And if you follow, more often than not, you find that you were led to something that matters, a healing word, a much needed answer, an unexpected opportunity, or even just the quiet comfort of knowing that something greater is guiding you. The repeated numbers, like 1111 or seeing your birthday pop up in odd places, are another form of this. To the skeptic, they're simply patterns our brain clings to. But to those with open hearts, they feel like subtle signals, reminders from beyond that you are on the right path, or that you're not forgotten in the vastness of things. Angels, it seems, have no need for grand gestures when a whisper will do. So the next time a coincidence feels too perfect or a sudden thought urges you toward kindness or connection, pause and listen. Don't rush to explain it away. It may be that something invisible is at work, stitching together your life with golden thread, not forcing, not controlling, but gently guiding. A divine choreography, and you, miraculously, are dancing in step. There are times when sorrow feels like a weight that cannot be moved. It settles over the heart like fog over a valley, thick, low, and inescapable. Words fail, comfort feels hollow, and the world seems strangely distant, as if it has forgotten your name. In such moments, no solution appears, and even prayer can feel like shouting into the wind. And yet, without warning, without any change in circumstance, something lifts. Not all at once, perhaps, not with fanfare or explanation, but the weight eases. The sharp edges of grief become smooth. You breathe deeper than you have in days. The pain is still there, but it no longer owns you. Peace, subtle and sure, settles over you like a blanket warmed by invisible hands. It is in this quiet shift that many have felt the presence of angels. They do not always come to heal the body or change the storm, but often they come to minister to the soul. Their work is invisible, but unmistakable. Where there was despair, there is now comfort. Where there was tightness in the chest, there is space to breathe. Nothing outside you has changed, but something has entered the room, and you know it. You may not see it, you may not even dare speak it aloud, but it is real. Just as remarkable is the sacred silence that sometimes follows these moments. Not an emptiness, not a void, but a presence. The room feels full, as though someone is sitting with you, unseen but not unfelt. The silence is not cold, it is warm, watchful, deep, and within it you find something strange and holy. You are no longer afraid. You are no longer alone. There are places in the world where this kind of silence is almost expected. Ancient churches, high mountain paths, or still woods in the hour before dawn. But sometimes it finds you in your kitchen, in your car, in a hospital room, or lying awake in bed with tears still drying on your cheek. It is not about location, it is about visitation. The soul, in its deepest pain, becomes receptive to what the eyes cannot see. It's often in our most vulnerable moments that we are closest to the realm just beyond the veil, and it is there that angels move most freely, not to dazzle us, not to offer grand revelations, but simply to be present, to sit beside us in the stillness and carry part of the weight we cannot bear alone. When sorrow lifts without reason, when silence feels alive rather than empty, consider it grace. Consider that something ancient and beautiful has entered your space. not to be seen, not to be known in any scientific way, but to be felt. These moments are not psychological tricks or passing moods, they are gifts. They are reminders that love surrounds us, even when life does not make sense. Sometimes the most miraculous thing an angel does is simply stay. There is something profoundly otherworldly about the way children speak when they are very young, before the world has taught them what to filter, before they've learned to doubt their own knowing. They speak with a kind of clarity that seems far too large for their small bodies, saying things that catch us off guard, pause us in our rush, and make us wonder whether they have heard something we cannot. You may have seen it for yourself. A toddler, barely able to form full sentences, says something about a relative who passed before they were born. A child sitting quietly suddenly turns to you and says, "Don't be sad, someone is watching over you," though you've said nothing aloud. Or they ask questions about heaven with a tone that suggests not curiosity, but memory. These are not rehearsed phrases or learned cliches. Often they are spoken with innocence, without agenda, and with a kind of calm certainty, as though the veil between this world and the next has not yet fully descended upon them. Perhaps it hasn't. Children are often still close to where we came from. They have not been long separated from the mystery of the soul's beginning, and in some mysterious way they may carry a lingering awareness of that other realm. Angels, it seems, may whisper to them more freely, not because they are holier, but because they are more open. Their hearts are not yet burdened by logic. Their minds are not yet clouded by the noise of the world. So, when a child says something that makes your spirit stir, some strange insight, some uncanny comfort, listen. Don't brush it away. Don't explain it too quickly. You may be hearing an echo of eternity spoken through the lips of one who has not yet forgotten what it sounds like. We often dismiss dreams as random and meaningless, a kind of mental static, the brain's nightly filing system. But sometimes a dream refuses to fade. You wake with the sensation that you were somewhere else. Not a fantasy, not a story, but a place that felt truer than anything you've known while awake. The emotions linger long after the images dissolve. A face you've never seen but somehow recognized. A voice you didn't hear with your ears, but understood completely. In such dreams, you may feel peace beyond language. You may meet someone you've lost and awaken in tears, but not of grief, of reunion. You may even feel that a message was given, not always in words, but in presence. These are not ordinary dreams, they are visits. Many believe angels use dreams to reach us when we are most receptive, when the defenses of the mind are down and the soul is open like a window on a quiet night. Dreams allow a kind of meeting place between worlds, and sometimes the atmosphere of heaven brushes against our sleep. If you ever had a dream that felt like more than just imagination, if it stayed with you, nourished you, or changed you, do not dismiss it. It may have been a passing of light through the veil, a visitation clothed in symbols, a message of comfort from the other side. Sleep, after all, is not so different from prayer, and angels perhaps speak best when the world is silent. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to remember that the presence of angels in our lives is not always grand or obvious. Their messages are subtle, quiet whispers in the corners of our days, waiting for us to listen with an open heart. They show up in the flutter of a white feather, in the gentle gaze of an animal, in the unexpected scent of flowers, or in the soft warmth that fills a room at just the right moment. These signs remind us that we are never truly alone, that beyond the veil of the everyday, there are forces of peace, guidance, and love at work in our lives. They speak to us not with words, but with gestures of comfort, intuition, and sacred silence. They do not demand belief, but invite us to pause and wonder, to open our hearts to the possibility that something greater is watching over us. So the next time you encounter one of these small, mysterious signs, take a moment. Breathe in the peace they bring. Trust that the angels who walk with us are not far, but close, whispering gently, guiding silently, and offering their presence in ways we are only beginning to understand. Thank you for joining me on this journey of discovery. May you find comfort in knowing that you are always loved, always watched over, and always surrounded by a world of unseen beauty.